Since we recorded last time, we had the big function in town about Phytophthora. There was a great turn up at the Mittagong RSL.
And what a selection of people.
A great cross-section.
Yeah, young and old, and people from the industries, from nurseries and
landscapers and
people in a lot of Dayklow vests. Which is really impressive because, getting those guys out of work on a Thursday is not an easy thing. But they were obviously all very interested in the subject of what was killing our trees.
They're taking it seriously.
Yeah.
So because we don't want to talk about it for too long, we've talked about it a couple of times already.
We have.
I really want to know, give me 3 or 4 take-home lessons on this. What do you think were the most important things we learned?
Well, take-home lessons, I suppose, were that everybody in the Shire has been affected by dead trees. Everyone. And I suppose the other thing I took away was how impressive it was that the community had come together with so many different institutions and so many different types of people pulling together. Like the local land services were there and Greening
Council.
Australia. The council was incredibly supportive and there was Wind Zero, the pressure group there, and of course the Southern Highlands Australian Plant Society, who basically, it was their initiative originally, but they were able to pull together all these different groups.
Yeah, there were also people from Southern Highlands Landcare there.
There were. So that was interesting that the community can come together the way it did that day. What would be interesting is to see how they keep the momentum going, because there were some tough lessons there, but also some opportunities for us to do our planting in a different way in the future. The takeaway message for me was you got to plant lots of different plants because we don't know anymore what's going to work.
That was what I was going to ask you. If you hadn't been there and you had to distill it for your next door neighbour, what are the key messages?
I'd say plant lots of different plants together because some will deal with drought, some will deal with wet feet. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
And do you think, with respect to Phytophthora only, is there any argument for putting in natives versus exotics?
Well, I got the impression very much that the message was, where possible, plant natives and local species. But that doesn't preclude you putting in some lovely exotics as well. Many natives do get Phytophthora. So, there's no panacea for this whole thing.
And the takeaway that I got out of it was, the same thing as the frog ID people have been telling us ever since frog ID existed, is that when you're moving from one soil area to another, you really should scrub your boots.
Absolutely.
You're not only moving Phytophthora around, but you're also moving frog diseases around.
Like the chytrid frog disease.
Yeah,
yes.
That's right.
Yes,
So-
well, once upon a time I used to go to the Frog and Tadpole Study Group out of Sydney, and we used to go on these fabulous field trips. And every night we would brush our feet. We had a little mat and we would spray boots with
Alcohol.
70% methylated spirits. And then on the way back, we would do the same thing, and we'd do it between sites as well. And that was the takeaway message as well. It's not a waste of time to do that. And
No.
I think we're going to see perhaps council doing more in that respect.
Hope
With bush
so.
care and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
We're certainly doing
So that,
it.
like, that's certainly something that anybody can do. And, you really are going to be helping. Yes, there's all kinds of arguments about, well, animals move from one spot to another and so on, but at least you're not contributing to the problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I went and bought a foot brush from, are we allowed to advertise locally?
No.
From your local hardware store. I think it just cost me under $30. And I'm going to keep it in the boot of my car along with a spray bottle of 70% meths. And every time I go out doing anything, walking or whatever, I'm going to spray.
Yeah, great idea.
Yeah.
Good. So that was a fantastic initiative from the community and the council, and hopefully lots of people will pick up the information. The other thing is that I remember seeing one of the slides was a slide of some trees that they have identified, or some plants they've identified that are resistant to Phytophthora. So if you're putting new stuff in, check on the web. At the moment, the lists aren't comprehensive, but there are some around that will tell you what's Phytophthora resistant.
Actually, there were some lists put out on the table with the local land services, and they went like hotcakes, and I didn't get one. So I'm going to contact the local land services and ask them, can we have some more, please, and spread them around.
Great, okay. If you get those, I'll try and put them on the Facebook page and stuff too.
Okay. And the local nursery, which I'm not allowed to name, which I'm not allowed to say, they have lists of native plants that are frost resistant, prone to wet feet, because wet feet is the clue.
Is the issue.
Yeah. So if you go to that nursery, you may be able to get some information sheets on plants. I was very impressed with that.
Yeah, that's great.
Plants.
In fact, if you go to any nursery, if they can't supply you with something like, let's put a bit of pressure on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye now.